Kevin, how long have you been in the community?
This is my 8th year involved in the Plain Local Schools community.
And we've been here for 27 years. We moved here when our children were 4 and 7 years old. They both started out at Plain Center School, went all the way through, graduating from Glen Oak, received wonderful educations that were sensitive to their needs and their skills. And you've got kids in the school?
We do. We have 3 children in the school, and really when we moved to the Canton community, we asked, what school system? We asked around a few different people. Would you recommend that our kids be a part of? I mean, in the history of the school system and the educational program, and we chose Plain because we felt that that was going to be the best possible place for our children to receive their education. And at that time, we were looking at a kindergartner, and now we have a 6th grader, a 3rd grader, and a 1st grader, and all 3 of them actively involved in their schools and participating in a number of different programs.
When our kids were younger, they were involved in sports and music and drama and a whole bunch of extracurricular activities. And I would assume that your kids are also.
Well, I do have a 6th grader that is incredibly dramatic and very much involved with the music program. Playing tuba this year, switched from his trombone from last year. And really one of the benefits for him was the 5th grade immersion program into the arts, and the first group of students that were he's at Oakwood that were to benefit from that program and to be there and be a part of that. And so I really think for him it's clicked and made a big difference in him in his school.
And I think the danger that we face today with decreasing funds for operations and so on is that we'll have to curtail or cut back or cut out a lot of those extracurricular
Absolutely.
programs.
I mean, I look at my daughter who's a 3rd grader, and some of those programs that my son benefited from in the current path that we're headed on, she will not be able to benefit from those as he has done, and that's discouraging to me as a parent, but also discouraging to me as a community leader to see that if we can do the best for our children that we possibly can with their education and their opportunities for extracurricular activities as well.
We've always felt, now that our kids have been graduated for a number of years and are gone, that very obligation that you speak about devolves upon us, even though our children are no longer in the system. It makes a better community, a healthier community, when our kids are raised with enough activities before and after school, good education, and good possibilities and prospects.
Well, certainly the community has to work together for the benefit of our children. I know you realize that in your position and working with not only my own children, but students within the schools that we volunteer with, whether it be the Ohio Reads program. Our church works in a number of ways to support the day kindergarten center and the Taft Elementary building that are just down the street from our church. And we look for those opportunities that we as a community can come together and support one another and encourage one another. I look at our society today and we can be very much consumed with ourselves. Mm-hmm. And then we can be very much negative toward others and discouraging to other people. And I think one of the things that we can do best of all is to come together for that encouragement and for that mutual community effort.
You mentioned that things that the church does with and for the schools. We live in a time when some people believe that the separation between church and state means that churches and synagogues and mosques can't have interests in the development of our kids, in their good character, in learning things that will give them the possibility of futures. And it's not a violation of church and state to want an educational system that will indeed raise kids that have character, that have discipline, that have skills.
Well, absolutely. Plain's character program, I think, is well thought out and based on the same values and morals that I would want our children to learn. And so we want to be able to support that. And our church has looked for ways to support that. That is, as you mentioned, not a violation of separation of church and state, but a way that we look at our common interest and our common goals, and we work toward those goals. And we work at ways that we can support each other and support our schools. I know when I've stepped into an office of one of our local administrators or our principals, I've said to them, one of the ways that we feel we can best support our kids, support our children, is to support those that are spending the most time with them. And that's our educators. They spend the most time with our kids during the week.
It's a very, very good point. The interactions that I've had with administrators and teachers over the years have shown them all to be very dedicated to our kids, very dedicated to our community, even to a sacrificial kind of position. They become role models. I know each of my boys, when they come home to Canton, find themselves going back to the high school to visit a favorite teacher that really had an influence in their lives. And we want that to continue. We want them to have a reason to come back and to be proud that they are plain local graduates.
I can't agree more with that. That's a great thing for our kids to be able to do.
Absolutely. So we face a new time now in which the need for this issue 17, this levy, is critical. We've already seen some cuts over the past several years, the latest being a very difficult decision to have to cut back transportation, for example. Why transportation now after 7 different levies? Because it's the next thing that could be sacrificed. We couldn't sacrifice teaching time. We couldn't sacrifice other things. It's a problem. We need to be able to keep our children safe and get them to where they can learn.
There's been some difficult decisions that have had to be made, and it's hard for me sometimes to explain those to my children when they ask questions about why are we no longer able to do this, why are we not having this program that perhaps even some of their friends from our church and our place of worship, their children may still be doing the same things, be a field trip or an extracurricular activity that my kids are no longer able to participate in. And that's tough. Those decisions have been tough, and I know they have been made with good research and with a faithfulness to do the best that they can for our education system. And I think the facts are there that speak for themselves, and the information there is there for our community. Probably, we have a tendency to mistrust information, and so many people perhaps might believe that that information is false or inaccurate. I do not believe that to be the case. In looking at the information myself, I think Plain Local has done what they have needed to do to remain fiscally responsible and to provide the best education for our children.
And they certainly are willing to give the information. You know, anybody can call up the administrative offices to ask their particular question, to try to verify their particular answers. I know that the administration has gone out on a number of programs to brotherhoods and sisterhoods and church groups as well to bring the information, but it can even be on a personal basis. If you want to see what the inside of the high school looks like and how our money has been spent, you can call up and get a personal tour. And I would certainly encourage people to do that.
I would as well. I would encourage anybody that wants to know more, as you said, to make that phone call and to locate someone that would be willing to spend time with them and to find the facts out for themselves. And I think that can be done rather easily. So if you are a person that is struggling to find the information or struggling to find the facts, make that phone call and take that step.